All right, welcome back to the STR podcast, otherwise known as the Start the Rebuild podcast. I'm your co-host Tim Fournier, alongside Ian Mills.
What's going on? It's episode number 35. The Kevin Durant, the Thunderstruck. Remember that movie? Thunderstruck?
Yes,
That
hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard.
exact. I often say,
Yeah,
I often
yeah.
say, um, not a lot of 35s in sports, at
No,
least
I
in the
remember
NFL
Kevin
and
Durant as
NBA.
well, and then I'm not gonna lie, I had to look up like famous 35s, but there's two that stood out to me as some of my
Okay.
favorite running backs of all time. First of
All
all,
right.
the Toll Dozer.
Oh yeah, Mike Tolbert.
Mike Tolbert,
Yeah.
35, which is one I should have remembered, but I
Yeah.
did not. And another one, kind of a fan favorite among our friend group, Zach Zenner, otherwise known as
Oh,
Zacher, and that's how he's known in our circles. He's just the GOAT for no reason.
I did a similar thing, and when we were having this conversation, because before we obviously talked about how we neither of us knew any 35. So I did look up to think, and there was a couple of big ones. Justin Verlander, which I feel like I should have gotten that. Tommy John, named after Tommy John
Surgery.
surgery. I mean, Tommy
Wow.
John surgery was named after him. Um, you mentioned Mike Tolbert. He played 1 year with the Bills. I kind of completely forgot about that. Carlos Williams
Mm,
and Mike Gill, no, not Carlos Williams, Antonio Williams and Mike
Mike
Gillisley.
Gilislee.
Mike Gillisley wore number 35 with the Bills, and so did Bryce Brown. If you remember Bryce Brown, the Bills traded for him like a fifth round draft pick. He was on the Eagles. He played for the Bills for
Running
like a
back. His first name was Bryce.
maybe it was Bruce.
No, Bruce Brown's in
No,
that.
Bryce Brown. Yeah, Bryce Brown.
And why do I think he? I don't know, but he was good. Didn't he like? Was he
Yeah,
not
he had
like one good
36
game or
carries
something?
for. I remember thinking he was good, but like
Yeah.
looking at his stats, they really aren't that good. Maybe he only played. Oh, he only played 7 games. That's
Maybe he just had like one good game or something.
He had 500 rushing yards in his rookie year, only starting 4 games.
That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Yards per attempt, 4.9 his rookie year, and then it steadily decreased.
Okay, so he was
So,
good in his rookie year and limited touches.
yeah, and then, but he was on the Eagles the first 2 years.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All
But,
right, well, I guess we can hop right into what we were just talking about.
oh, yeah.
So when the season started, this must have been 30 episodes, not 30 episodes, but 20 episodes ago.
Yeah.
We did division winner predictions, and we're gonna go over them
Yeah, let's do it.
and see where we were right and where we were horribly wrong.
Yeah. There's a couple. There's a couple bad ones.
Starting off hot in the AFC North. Two wins for the both of us. We both said the Ravens.
Nice.
Was
Nice. I'm
4 weeks
glad
ago,
I,
it was looking a little shaky, but we both said the Ravens.
if I remember correctly, my laptop's going crazy, but if I remember correctly, I feel like you were really concerned about the Bengals,
Yep.
which obviously they had a bad year, didn't make playoffs. But I can under like looking back, it's like I if you had told me that the Bengals would have one of the worst defenses in the NFL, I probably wouldn't have believed you.
Sure.
And obviously their offense is really good. So yeah, Ravens. I mean, I think that was a pretty easy pick. They were the 1 seed last year, went to the AFC Championship,
Yeah. So there we go. We're starting off clean.
Pat, yeah, pat our back.
Then we get kind of dicey here with the next two divisions. AFC South, I did say the Texans, and then you said the Jags.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I like was saying Doug Peterson was like a good coach. And I think that was
I
part of
called
the
I called his firing before the season started, and
you,
I think
you,
they're going to be very bad.
yeah, you did. I also thought Trevor Lawrence would sort of have a bounce back year. I still believe in Trevor Lawrence.
I do too.
I think more my confidence was more in two things that Trevor Lawrence was going to be good again,
Hmm.
which he didn't really have a chance to be good, it seems. And then secondly, that I thought the Texans would regress, which they're
Was
the divisional. I mean, yeah, they had like they regressed, but not. I mean, not enough for it to matter.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I guess they are in the divisional round, which is right where they were last year. But
right. So it's like I think they have less. I mean, they went 10-7 this year. Where did they go last year? Their point differential is exactly zero. I'm looking at the standings right now. That's kind of crazy.
yeah, I think they kind of just benefited from an awful division this year. And I think last year they won maybe 10 or 11, but they definitely seemed like a much better
They were
team.
5-1 in the division this year.
Yeah, so they just
I
really
don't think they played starters week 18.
they
They
played
did,
Davis Mills. Yeah.
but I think they also won. I think they beat the Titans anyways.
Mm.
But yeah,
Yeah. So hey, you took your shot. You were kind of, I think, like you said, it was more less about your belief in the Jags and more in your belief in the Texans' regression,
yeah,
which I don't think was a horrible call, despite them winning the division being where they are. I don't think that was that bad in that thought process.
no, no, I
Where you
have.
were right is AFC East, and where I was very wrong. You picked the Bills. There you go.
Yes.
Coming into the year, I was a little lower on the Bills. I thought they were like lacking a little bit of star power, despite having Josh Allen, and then it seemed like they had, you know, just kind of like average position groups across the board, which they have had an amazing season, and I was very wrong because I picked the Jets. And where you were also very right, I vividly remember you saying that you should watch out for the Jets having a worse season because you were calling for the defense to regress.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when a team has a very like outlier elite defense, the following season it doesn't necessarily hold up. Think like Saxonville. Like they
Yeah.
were so good the one year, and the following year it regresses because a lot of pieces have to come together. And not only did the offense suck, the defense also did take a step back.
Yeah, I did think the Jets would. I think it was more about the defense. Of course, because the whole thing was just like you look at the Jets from last year, it's like, oh well, you just give it, you throw a competent like they were starting Tim Boyle at points last year.
Mhm.
Like throw a competent quarterback in there and
Right.
they're gonna win 15 games. And Aaron Rodgers was probably worse than I think Jets fans expected, but about as good as like most non-Jets fans thought he was gonna be. Like I don't think anyone was expecting, Packers MVP, Aaron Rodgers coming off of the torn Achilles.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, with the defense, it for all like it's almost like everything needs to. I don't know. I think chemistry matters a lot on the defensive side of the ball, and having the same pieces year after year is important, but it's very hard to kind of retain that.
Mhm.
Uh, like we saw with the Steelers this year. Steelers defense was ridiculous all season, and then all of a sudden, like the last month of the season, they're all like, somebody's not doing their job. One person's not doing their job. And then everything falls apart. And whether that's, a scapegoat or not, but it's like, I do think it matters a lot. I mean, well, we'll talk more about the playoffs, but yeah, I think the Jets, well, also not having his trading him for Hassan Reddick and then not having it for Hassan Reddick for most of the
Definitely
season.
doesn't help.
No.
I think Rodgers in that hypothetical of like you just need a like okay quarterback to put in the situation with this what they have going on right now, and they'd be great. I think he like fit that bill. Like I think that was like the level
Yeah.
where it's like we literally have Zach Wilson and an incompetent quarterback. If we just have someone competent, they don't have to be great. They should win 10, 11, 12 games, which is my thought process.
Hmm.
But that's a learning lesson that it's not always plug and play like that.
No, and their offense. Well, we should also mention that the Dolphins were we neither of us picked the Dolphins, but they were sort of preseason also in that conversation.
Mhm.
Obviously they didn't have Tua for 6 weeks, maybe a little bit less than that. They didn't have him for a while. I mean no, because he didn't play the last two games too. So I think yeah, he was out for what 6 weeks. So
Mhm.
sort of what do you know? But I still don't think they were ever going to catch the Bills. And yeah, we'll see if Tyreek returns. I don't know.
Yeah, who the heck knows what's going to go with that? And then we both picked the Chiefs in the West, so I think we can
Whoa.
kind of brush over that pretty quickly. Like that
Well,
was,
can I say one thing about that?
yeah.
Is I have the standings. So the Chiefs obviously went 15-2
Mhm.
and won the AFC West. They have the third best point differential in their own division.
Dang.
The Broncos are plus 114, are first in the division. Chargers are plus 101, second in the division. Chiefs are plus 59 in third, and then Raiders are minus 125, which is really bad. But so
Hey, all I know is that we obviously have Bills Ravens coming up, and I'm assuming the Chiefs are going to beat the Texans. Is all
yeah,
I know is I'm going to be rooting very hard for the non-Chiefs team in the AFC Championship.
right,
That's all I know.
right.
And then moving to the NFC, in the North, we had the Lions, which almost did not come true. Came down to the last game.
It didn't. And I think what we said about the Lions, if I remember correctly, if I think I'm pretty sure I said this, for them, I believe in them this season. And I mean, like coming into the season, I believed in them for this season, but I said that their future was sort of like it's this season, and if it doesn't happen this season, then it might be like going downhill from here on out. Mostly because I just think Ben Johnson's probably gonna get hired away.
Mhm.
Uh, but they also have an insane skill position group on offense.
Yeah, I have confidence
Insane
that
offensive
Dan
line.
Campbell will continue what he's doing and hire someone
I
that
mean,
is,
Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson are gonna leave.
yeah.
Um,
I
we'll
think being
see.
a head coach, CEO type, it's like one of the biggest skills you can have is your hiring ability for coordinators. So that's going to be tested for sure.
I mean, we saw it with the Eagles last year
Yeah.
when they lost Steichen and Gannon, and then they had a really down year. Well, I wouldn't even say down year, but obviously they lost in the first round of the playoffs. Then went to new coordinator. So yeah,
Yeah. So then to the South, we both said the Falcons, which I mean came down to week 18. And if it weren't for a Kirk Cousins implosion, they probably would have won. Like they swept the Bucks.
yeah,
Bucks won. So it's not like it wasn't a bad call. Um, maybe we got Penix for longer. I don't know. I just love Michael Penix.
yeah. I thought that would have been. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I thought the Buck or the Falcons would be better. I think Kirk Cousins obviously hurt that quite a bit, and then Bucks were about as good as they were last year.
Yeah, I think I was a little lower on the
Receivers.
Bucks coming into this year than I maybe should have been. I don't think they're like amazing, but what really surprised me this year is how good their run game has been or was.
Bucky.
Yeah, Bucky and the offensive line was really good because that's what last year they just couldn't run the ball at all. It was horrible. And they changed some things around, and I was really worried about what's his name? The coordinator last year that became the Panthers head coach. Why can't I not think of his name?
Oh, Canales.
Yeah, Dave Canales. I was
No.
worried about him leaving, but Liam Cohen seems just as good. So there you go. Maybe Baker's just good.
Maybe the Panthers win it next year. Dave Canales maybe just wins it next year.
Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe that'll be my
Um,
pick. I'll see.
and then we go to the NFC East where you did pick the
Oh.
Cowboys and I picked the Eagles. Um, the Cowboys sounds bad, but they also like they obviously had a very disappointing season, but they low-key like did all right with Cooper Rush.
Yeah, it's weird because if you
What
had
they
told me
what they
earlier in
win
the year,
seven or eight games?
they
Seven
went
games?
7-10.
Which like
Uh,
when your starting quarterback gets hurt for that long, like you'd probably assume they do worse.
they were 3-4 when Dak got hurt. Or yeah, 3-4 when Dak got hurt. No, 3-5. Excuse me, 3-5 when Dak got hurt. Cooper Rush came in, lost two straight games, and then won four the next five.
So they were 3-5, and then he went four
Four
and
and one, and then they were 7-8, and then they lost to the Eagles and the Commanders. But I mean, Trey Lance started the last game.
so Cooper Rush went 4-4.
Cooper Rush went 4-5. Oh no, 4-4 because Trey Lance. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So I mean, hey, I mean,
Also, people have to understand something. Rico Dowdle was like pretty good and pretty promising, and then they just made him a healthy scratch because they wanted to start Zeke.
and then he came back in and was kept running for like 120 yards every game.
I know, and then he was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And also I think not that Dak doesn't do this, but sometimes when you have a backup quarterback, and they're just like, all right, well, I have a star receiver, like just spam throw to him, and like that's kind of what Cooper Rush did with CD Lamb, and it worked, right? It was just kind
Yeah.
of like, yeah, why not? Um, but no, I mean the Eagles obviously were. My whole thing was, hey, they were really bad to end last season, and thought they'd be worse. I thought the Cowboys. I mean, they were 12-5, what, 3 straight years. So my whole thought process is like, hey, they're as consistent as consistency comes. Obviously, that ended up not being true. And the Commanders ended up being really good too. Not that they won the
Which I
division, but
definitely did not
I
predict.
did not see that coming. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Um, while we're talking about the Cowboys, what are your thoughts on the whole Mike McCarthy's leaving and maybe it's Dion and just like I feel like the whole Jerry Jones dynamic is just like it's weird because I feel like he needs to like take a step back for the team to move forward where like he's just not a football guy. And in order to make the team better long term, I think they need like a real GM. But at the same time, it's like that's just never going to happen because he literally bought the Cowboys just to be the GM because he wants to be.
Right.
So it's like, I mean, it's not going to happen.
Right. I yeah, I don't know what to think of. I mean, Mike McCarthy, it's one of those things where he went again, as I said, the Cowboys were really consistent for a couple of years and then lost in the playoffs.
Mhm.
And never really kind of made like I don't think they ever went to the NFC Championship.
No.
And obviously they lost in the first round last year as a 2 seed. So like part of it's like, yeah, Mike McCarthy's been pretty consistent, but his contract's up and okay, maybe we can do better. I don't think that's a horrible thing to think that you can do better than Mike McCarthy. I've been a detractor of Mike McCarthy in my past, in his past. But to think like you're gonna hire Dion, I mean, to fire like to move on from Mike McCarthy just to be like, all right, let's like remove Dion, like the star factor of Deion Sanders. I don't like he went, what did they go, like 9-3, 9-4 this year, which was better than people expected. So he deserves credit for that.
Yeah.
However, Deion Sanders had a free money glitch in having his son as a quarterback, and his son who was a very good college quarterback. And he deserves, right, being able to recruit Travis Hunter, and so there's that. But like, I don't know if that like there's a certain type of being from a college kid wanting to play for Deion Sanders that I think can be alluring. He's obviously a very good college coach, but I don't mean to take anything away from him. I don't think that works in the NFL though.
Yeah. I have a feeling I kind of feel like it's going to happen because I feel like no one really wants to work with Jerry Jones because it's like you just have this like all being power above you that's going to kind of be like low key sabotaging you and there's nothing you can do about it. But Dion is just going to be like, well, I would love to be the Cowboys head coach. And like maybe he's like got a good enough relationship with Jerry where like they can kind of see eye to eye on things. And I feel like Jerry would love it because it would just bring so many
Right.
even more eyeballs to the Cowboys. And it would just be like they would be the biggest story in the NFL.
I mean, yeah, I guess I could see it happening, and it might end up working out just because the NFL is weird and
I think Dion is like, I don't know about the X's and O's and everything, but like legitimately
a motivator.
a motivator and like a good like leader, I
Yeah,
think.
for sure.
Like
I just
Colorado,
yeah,
like obviously he from his own like brand brought so much talent, so much more
right.
talent to the team than they otherwise would have had. But also like the team was like horrible before we got there. And he
It's
like
true.
they like complete 180 turned them around. Like they weren't great the first year, but I remember watching the first game. It was against like TCU who was ranked, and that's when like everyone loved Colorado. And it was like, whoa, these guys are like very ready to play, and this is like, wow. And
and
they
then
ended up having like not the greatest season, and then they had a pretty good year this year.
my concern is with Dion. It's not that it's really not my concern with Dion. It's more my concern with college coaches whose biggest strength is being a recruiter.
Right.
Transitioning from the college game to the NFL game is tough because you're not a GM. That doesn't mean he can't recruit guys. Um, and I also just think it's probably more difficult to recruit, 28-year-old free agent as opposed
Sure,
to a
there's a
19 year
salary
old kid.
cap, and but they
Right.
do have talent, undeniably.
Oh, for sure. I'm
Like
not.
Dak's fine, and
Yeah.
CD, Micah Parsons,
Yeah.
you know,
You know what? Maybe I think you're talking me into it. I
big.
want to see Dion on the Cowboys. Do you think that they try to trade up for Travis, or I mean, obviously they have a quarterback, so they probably wouldn't think about getting Shador, but like in Dion's mind, do you think he's talked about wanting to coach his sons before in the NFL? So I'm curious how that would go down, you know?
Yeah, I just don't really know how it works out. Like,
Yeah.
like Dak has a no trade clause and a $60 million per year contract. Like, that's
Can't
kind of
really.
hard to move.
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe if they traded the farm for to get up to one, like I don't really know how it works. Other than honestly, I have no idea how it would work. Like Shador being like they're just saying like he won't play for anyone except the Cowboys, and then like they trade. Who the heck would trade for Dak? Did the Titans freaking trade for Dak to like just have
Trade
a
the first overall pick.
solidified quarterback
I mean, I guess it
and
depends on what
not
you
do
think of the
quarterback
Titans
draft, and
roster.
then the Cowboys take Shador #1 overall? Like it's kind
That'd
of
be pretty
that
dramatic.
hasn't. But Dak
The-
also has no trade clause, so would he want to go to Tennessee? Probably not.
I mean, probably a lot less pressure, like with the Titans and the Cowboys. I don't know if that means
Yeah,
anything.
I don't know.
Giants also exist in that division. We should also mention that they exist, and that's basically we'll leave it at that, that they exist.
They do exist. This is true. They really need a quarterback, and they're once again not in a perfect spot to get a quarterback. So
Yeah, third overall pick, and you have two teams that probably want a quarterback in front of you.
yeah. Maybe they'll take Shador.
The
Shador
Giants.
versus his dad twice a year?
I don't think. I think. I mean, if two quarterbacks are going to go off the board, one and two, it's going to be Shador and Cam Ward. No,
Yeah.
but they're pick three, unless I trade up.
Well, it's not a definitive that the Browns would take a quarterback.
That's true. I would think that they will, but
You would think, but like if they have Travis Hunter there and
a run back
they
DTR for
already
him.
have all this money sunk into Deshaun Watson, they don't even get the benefit of having a rookie quarterback. Maybe
True.
there's like,
All
well,
right,
wait,
DTR.
I don't know.
All
I
right,
don't.
NFC West.
We both took the Niners, and I think if they were healthier, that they would have had a much better season when they won 6 or 7 games.
We went 6-11.
I mean,
Rams and Seahawks both went 10-7.
like the Rams started off in a big hole and ended up pulling it out in the end. Like, if the Niners stay healthy, can they win 11 games? Could they have won?
They lost four straight to end the year.
Right.
And at that point, the season was kind of sunk because you're 6-7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You
remember my
know,
thought process being kind of like, I really like the Rams, but I don't think their defense is going to be able to hold up. And their defense did hold up especially once their offense got healthy. And they are dangerous, right? Even right now.
the the 49ers were 5-4 and had just beaten the Cowboys and the Buccaneers and had a bye week in between that. And then they lost to the Seahawks. Brandon Allen then played against the Packers. Then they had to go to the Bills,
Mhm.
and then they cooked the Bears at home. And we're 6-7. And then it was Rams, Dolphins, Lions, Cardinals, and the defense just imploded, giving up 29, 40, and 47 to end the season.
Yeah, I mean they're also just like a team like that's very much built around star power, and they had no McCaffrey essentially the whole season.
Yeah.
Ayuk tore his ACL in what the first game or two. Purdy got hurt a little bit. Trent
He
Williams
played
missed a
week
bunch of
five.
time.
Yeah, you played he had 147 week five. I think he was out after that.
Oh, okay. Trent Williams was in and out. Nick Bosa was in and out, which he kind of always is. And I think they had a bunch of other injuries too, to be honest. And Purdy was dealing with injuries. So, I mean, I don't think we had a bad read there. I think if they like were as healthy as they were the year before, they probably are like right in the mix.
Yeah, I agree.
But do they
Um,
only have to win 10 games? Could they have won three more if they stayed healthier? Probably.
I do want to say I really thought the Rams. I thought the Rams would have been. I mean, they are a playoff team, obviously, but I thought I was pretty confident they were gonna make the playoffs just because of their offense.
Yeah.
But it seems like I mean, their offense was pretty mediocre down the stretch, and their defense kind of carried down the stretch. And it's kind of one of those weird things where it kind of flip
Yeah.
flops a
Their
little bit. Like,
defense being like not only being like very good the last
yeah,
month or so of the season is one of the most under talked about points in the NFL right now.
yeah,
Because their offense with the combination of McVay, Stafford, Puka, Kyron, Cup, and a good offensive line is like when it's on, is unstoppable.
yeah,
There's literally nothing you can do. And then now that the defense is actually not even just not bad, like it was supposed to be horrible on paper, and it's not only just like average, it has been legitimately very good for the last month,
yeah,
which is insane because their defensive line is so young, but it's playing so well,
yeah.
and doing just an amazing coaching job with the rest of the team.
And it was right after giving up 44 or 42 points to the Bills.
Yeah.
It was right. I mean, and I mean, it's they started the year 1-4
Hmm.
and then won.
They went like 9-2 or something.
They went 9-2, and then they rested their starters in week 18
Hmm.
and lost. But yeah, they gave up 6, 9, and 9 in from weeks 15 to 17.
Like that's nuts.
Yeah, it was against the Niners, it was against the Jets, and then the Cardinals. But the Cardinals scored 41 on them earlier in the year, to be fair.
Right.
So
Right.
that's deserves a lot of credit.
You think the Rams have a chance against the Eagles this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say
Like,
so.
I mean, I think they definitely have a chance, but where are you
So
at?
the first time they played, the Eagles ran all over them. No, yeah, they ran for 314 yards. Saquon had 255 yards. Yeah, and so that's sort of like it's hard for me to get that out of my mind.
That was like early on, no?
It was like week 10.
Okay.
It was weak. Let me see. I can find it if I can find it. They were 5-6. They lost to go 5-6, so it would have been in the middle of that 9-1 stretch, kind of towards the top, the front end of it.
Mhm.
So yeah, again, obviously the defense has been a lot better in recent memory. So there is, that I think they have a chance just the because I still believe in the offense, and I just part of me is like, if the offense can get back to that rhythm it was in, in that Bills game, which was a month ago now, a little less than a month ago, I think. I think they can beat anyone in that case, right? Like I think if Matt Stafford's on, which he kind of hasn't, I want to say he hasn't been on, but like he hasn't really needed to be on just personally because of the defense has been so good.
Right.
Uh I don't know. That 255 yards from Saquon's, it's hard to for me to erase that in my head, but obviously, yeah, a lot can change.
Yeah, I think they can win, and I think a big part of it too is that the Eagles' offense is still very inconsistent.
It's true.
And if the Eagles' offense only scores 17, 20, 21, like they could very easily lose. Uh,
Yeah.
so I think the Rams definitely have a chance. Um, and that would be the big part of it. but I do think, you know, the Rams defensive line, I think that's been the biggest reason their defense has been so good down the last month. And the Eagles have the offensive line to kind of just like neutralize that.
Right.
Um, but I do think that like regardless of how good the Eagles defense has been, that the Rams offense is going to be productive just because I think they're that good. So I am picking the Eagles to win, but I think this is going to be like a pretty close game.
I think it'll be a good game. I am curious. This is very sports talk radio of me. I wonder if Jalen Hurts, because he didn't play for a couple weeks heading into the playoffs.
Mhm.
Played last week, looked not good. Didn't look great. I am curious if he sort of was just rusty, and like if because he wasn't practicing for a while because of the concussion.
I don't
So I
know.
I am curious how much that matters, if at all. Not to say that like Jalen Hurts is like you know he's not Pat Mahomes or anything like that. I know you're not a big fan of his.
Of Jalen Hurts,
Yeah,
which is weird. Like I felt like I was higher on Jalen Hurts like when he first started playing for the Eagles. I was like, yeah, he's not a perfect passer, but like there is an offense to be created here because they have the offensive line. And like there is a world where he is a very productive quarterback. So I was like higher on him than most people. And people were like, he can't throw the ball, he sucks. And then but when the Eagles like were a Super Bowl team, he kept getting put in like the next tier next to like behind Mahomes. Like he was almost in the like Josh, Lamar, Burrow tier. And it was like, what? Like, I don't see that at all.
yeah.
And like Herbert tier-ish. Like he was like almost the consensus like QB like 6 or 7. And I was like, whoa, like Josh and Lamar and Herbert are and Burrow are like definitively better than this guy. I think he's like maybe pushing into like the 10 to 12 range. And I think since the Super Bowl, I feel like I have not watched one Jalen Hurts game since the Super Bowl where I was like, oh wow, he played really well. In the Super Bowl, I was like, this dude is playing insane. And all of last year was a shit show. And then I haven't seen anything impressive this year either. So that's what I'm
Um,
saying. Like the offense is going to be inconsistent, is not going to be like a powerhouse at any point.
I mean, when you can run for 300 yards, like that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and that's like Saquon driven in offensive
Right,
line,
right.
not
That's
Jalen
not
Hurts.
necessarily Jalen Hurts.
Right. And
Right.
like honestly, I do think like it kind of is a massive advantage. The Bills have this as well, where it's like if it is a down and distance of 1, you are getting a first down.
Yeah.
Like
I
that,
think
it's
that's
not
maybe the
supposed
thing
to
with
be
the
like that in football.
what's that?
Like that is not supposed to be like that has never been a thing in football where it's just like literally you're anywhere on the field. If it is third and one, fourth and one, you are definitively going to get it.
Yeah.
Like that is like massive.
Yeah. And I last week against the Packers, they did the fake tush push
Yeah.
that he,
It's like
you
why
know,
not? It's third down. You're automatically going to get it on fourth
yeah,
down.
and then you're gonna go if you don't get it, you're gonna go for an yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it is, and I think people under because even if it's like 3rd and 3 and you do
You're
it, and
probably going to get it in 2 plays.
you're gonna probably get it in two, right? And it's
Might get
like,
it in one.
yeah, it's like that. It is unfair, and I think like when I write like a game recap,
Mhm.
like historically speaking, we'd call it a QB sneak, but it's like everybody, it's not a sneak. It's gonna, everyone knows it's gonna happen, and like
Yeah.
it's almost gotten rid of the QB sneak. Like if you remember, like when we were coming up, like Tom Brady, every once in a while was like he has like 10 rushing touchdowns in his career, whatever it is, and it's like they're all just like, oh, he's gonna hand it off to like Garrett Blunt here, and it's like, oh wait, what? No, he took it himself. Like
Yeah.
it actually was a surprise. It actually was a sneak,
Yeah.
or at least more so. Like now it's like, oh, it's first and goal from the one. All right. Like
Touchdown.
maybe you'll hand it to the running back on first down. If they don't get it, then you just why not?
Yeah. I mean, like it actually, honestly, like watching an Eagles game or a Bills game, they obviously just tush push it 90% of the time.
Hmm.
But if it is ever first and goal at the one, second and goal in the one, third and goal in the one, why would you ever move backwards?
Exactly, for
Like, why
sure.
would
I
you move
agree.
the ball from right there backwards to your running back for him to move forward when you have like a 95% success rate of
Yeah.
Josh or Jalen Hurts just moving forward?
Yeah. Just
Like,
push, just lean.
you could have
Like
holding, you could mess up the exchange with the running back, another whole exchange to have. And if someone just shoots a gap,
you could just lose three,
you
four
lose three
yards.
yards, and then you don't even
Yeah.
have the tush push option.
Yeah. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
But anyway,
Bills,
it is like
Bills,
a
Lions.
massive thing that I think just keeps the Eagles. Yes, I don't think they have high like upside in terms of like, do I think the Eagles are gonna score 35 points really at any point? Like honestly, I don't ever really see it as they play better defenses down the stretch in the playoffs because of Jalen Hurts' inconsistencies, but their floor is also very high.
Right.
Like it would be pretty hard for them to have like 6 points, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. I think when you can run the ball like that, they had. Wait, what am I looking at? Oh, Kenny. That was with Kenny Pickett. I was gonna say they had 41 against the Cowboys, but that was Kenny Pickett. I'm now
Yeah.
just realizing that's funny.
Yeah. But
Um, yeah, that's fair.
yeah, so uh, the Eagles like very easily could be like the best team in the NFL. It's just Jalen Hurts' inconsistencies that it's like when you go and play a very good offense, like sometimes there's just nothing you can do no matter how good your defense is. If
Yeah,
Stafford is on, or if they go play the Lions and the Lions offense has been like the most explosive in the NFL and they put up 30 points, they might just be screwed.
yeah.
Which is why I
That's what.
think the Rams have a legitimate chance, but
Yeah.
I'm not picking it to happen.
So we're both picking the Eagles. Let's just run through them. Now that we did that, let's just run through all the games. Commanders Lions, the other NFC game, or yeah, Commanders Lions. That is a correct game. I think we're both picking Lions.
Yeah,
The
I
first
mean the
one?
Commanders have proved me wrong like literally every step of the
Yeah,
way. I keep calling for like Jaden Daniels to finally look like a rookie or the
he's just
offensive
good.
line. He's just good. And I keep calling for like the offensive line to like finally show that on paper like they suck, but they're just he's they've outplayed expectations and he's just so good that he's just always moving the offense. Like
Yeah,
they are never taking sacks, they are never turning the ball over, they are never having like gains of 0 or 1. It's they have a good run game, and then he's driving back to pass, and if nothing's open and like he's getting pressure, he runs for 4 yards,
yeah.
and then
No,
just
he's
moving
ridiculous.
sticks.
He's a lot better than I think either of us expected to be, especially this early on.
I
So
just
cool.
think Lions offensive line is and how the only other offense that has been as consistent and like probably more explosive is the Lions. So I think they're just like the better version of that in terms of efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any solace for the Commanders, I think most Commanders fans know they're going to probably lose this weekend, and but they're obviously rooting for a win. It is all gravy at this point. Like
Oh yeah,
rookie
and I don't
quarterback.
even think they're going to get blown out.
No, I think the game will be like decided heading into like the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and it'll be like 10 points or something. You know, it'll
Yeah,
be
it'll
like
be like
a
35-21 or
goal.
something
Yeah,
like that, and it's like just give the ball to Jameer Gibbs a million times and run the clock out.
yeah.
Uh, Texans Chiefs.
I want the Texans to like have a fighting chance so badly, and the thing that I keep coming back to as to why like maybe they do is that their biggest strength on defense is probably their edge rushers in Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter, and that is the Chiefs' by far biggest weakness on the entire team is how bad their tackles are.
Yeah,
A lot of times it doesn't matter as much because Mahomes is mobile and has such a good feel in the pocket, and their interior offensive line is the best in the NFL that he can kind of just like manage the rush to the outside. And as long as there's no pressure coming in his face, he can always kind of like step up, step back, and like help his tackles out
right.
based on his own pocket movement. So I do think the Chiefs are going to win. And the Texans have not been inspiring. And then last week, okay, they like looked better, but I think that was kind of inflated by
Herbert having
Herbert
the
having
worst week
four
of his
picks
career.
and like Will Dissly like throwing the ball in the air when he gets
Yeah, that was
the ball
ridiculous.
thrown to him.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously mostly picking the Chiefs. That game is on Saturday, so the 18th. Their starters haven't played since Christmas Day.
A lot
You
of
know,
rest.
that's yeah. It's if there's any team for it not to matter, it's probably the Chiefs because they're just
Yeah.
whatever. But that's what I'm telling myself is like, oh, maybe like
They started looking good down the stretch too.
The Texans just had, the Texans just had probably their best game of the well, most important game of the year, obviously in the playoffs. The defense has looked, I mean, it's been good pretty much all year, and but yeah, I mean, the
And
only
like,
thing I'm telling me is like, oh, maybe they're just they come out flat, and but
uh,
even last time they played the Texans in the divisional round,
they came
it
out
was
flat and then
they
won.
won. They were down 24 and won 49, 20, whatever the score was, but.
And I was thinking about this with the Chiefs. Like the narrative all year has been like Mahomes hasn't been good and he's got like no one to throw to and blah blah blah. All of a sudden they have Travis Kelce, obviously. Playoffs, like last year, he like had a bad regular season and then great playoffs. Um, DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Worthy really came on down the stretch,
Yep. I
and
would,
Marquise Brown.
yeah. And
And,
Pacheco's back.
and Pacheco's back. If you want to say like Juju, like whatever. But like all of a sudden he has like a pretty good receiving core.
Yeah, I
Like all of a
think
sudden it's not just like washed up Kelsey and rookie Xavier Worthy who like is dropping balls.
yeah.
Like all of a sudden it's okay, Travis Kelsey who is now in the playoffs in the biggest games. Worthy who really came on, like I said, Hopkins, blah blah blah, and Marquise Brown. Like
Chiefs won the
that's
Super Bowl
very
together.
scary. Like I
Yeah.
don't think this is gonna be like okay, like the Chiefs keep winning these one score games and like they're frauds. I really don't think that's going to be it. I think the Ravens or Bills can beat the Chiefs, but it's not going to be like, yep, see they finally went against a good team and like see they sucked this year. I just really don't think that's going to be the case. And it's going to be in Kansas City and ugh.
Yeah, my mind is going to the narrative of it's like, all right, the Chiefs have already won three Super Bowls. They've won two straight. Like they're like not to say their time is up because it clearly isn't. Like they're the one seed and they're gonna probably beat the Texans by two touchdowns on Saturday. But like my mindset is so locked into this Ravens Bills game that I'm like,
The
team of
winner's
destiny.
going to beat them anyway. Like
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Like, oh, who cares? And it's like,
yeah.
oh, probably it's like the Chiefs are gonna probably be favored in that game. Like if it's Bills Chiefs, like in Kansas City, it'll be probably a pick 'em. If it's Ravens Chiefs, probably be a pick 'em no matter what, or close to it.
I think the
My
Chiefs
point
are
is,
favored. I think
yeah,
the Chiefs will be 3-point favorites against whoever they play, and then the entire country
was
is
gonna
going to
bet
bet
against
on
them.
the Bills or the Ravens. And then it's
Is
just kind of like shit.
it's gonna move the line. Yeah, we'll see. Um, Bills or Ravens, last game of the weekend,
What is
contention.
your objective take on the game?
I think it's gonna be much closer than week four. I think that we can probably both agree on.
Oh yeah, I think both teams are a lot better than
Both teams are a lot better. I think, and here's the thing with the Bills. The Bills' run defense has been sort of a liability all season long, but it's gotten better down the stretch. And if you look early in the season, it was really bad, especially in that week four game. In that week four game, right? The Bills on defense typically play nickel. So their linebackers are Terrell Bernard, Matt Milano, and Taron Johnson essentially acts as a linebacker in a lot of packages. All three of them were out against the Ravens.
yeah.
And literally in the first play of the game, or first offensive play of the game for the Ravens, Derrick Henry goes 87 yards and nobody even comes close to sniffing him.
Mm.
Uh, I'm not saying that like, you know, the Bills are magically going to be like a much better defense because they have three starters in, but like Terrell Bernard is their captain. Taron Johnson was an All Pro last year. Matt Milano has been an All Pro. He's obviously dealt with injuries. Like those aren't three just like random names out of a hat. Like they actually do. Like if anything on that defense, I mean, I guess if you had a run stuffing defensive tackle, that would also matter, which the Bills don't have. But like for the Bills to stop the run, those three guys matter
Mhm.
so much because part of what makes the Bills defense sort of dangerous, and again, they haven't had the greatest year, is the fact that they can, you know, sort of stop the run or not get gashed on the run with Taron Johnson playing essentially as a linebacker, right? Like having a cornerback play in the position that Taron Johnson does, like that's a strength of theirs. Um, but not having them in week 4, any of them in week 4 is obviously big. Matt Milano, I think, so much has been said about him because he's coming back from injury. He wasn't great to start when he kind of came back from the injury. He sort of just was, I want to say, a non-factor, but it wasn't the Matt Milano that people remember. Partially because he's coming off two, back-to-back season-ending injuries or close
Mhm.
to it. It wasn't season-ending this year, obviously, because he's back, but he had a good game against the Broncos. Like he had a very good game against the Broncos, and that's a very strong sign. I think Terrell Bernard as a weak side linebacker is, you know, a lot better than most people just don't know who he is, but like I think that matters, and I think that's going to matter against the Ravens. That being said, um, obviously Josh and Lamar are two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. They've had the two best seasons in the NFL. If there's one guy of those two that I trust in the playoffs, it is Josh over Lamar. And that's like just historically speaking, like Josh has been much better in the playoffs, despite never getting to the Super Bowl. Josh's playoff stats are like some of the best, literally some of the best ever.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with that. There is Lamar also like is been a known like non-playoff performer.
Yeah.
Um, I think the discrepancy in Josh playoff performance and Lamar playoff performance, 1000% Josh like has performed better in the playoffs. I think the gap seems a little wider than it
Right.
is
Cause yeah,
because Josh has more wild card games played against lesser teams.
sure.
And he won the game against Lamar where neither of them played well.
Yeah.
Where
Right.
it was 17-3 and the offense put up 10 points.
Right.
The Chiefs game for Josh is far and away better than like any performance Lamar has ever had in the playoffs, 1000%, even in a loss for Josh. So like I 1000% agree with you. I do think the gap is a little wider than it like seems on the surface, or a little narrower than it seems on the
Yeah, I see what you're saying. No, I don't disagree with that. I just think even last year with the Bills versus Chiefs, like Josh didn't have his like he wasn't his 2021, the 13 seconds game. Like he wasn't playing that strongly, but
play
he
well
was
enough.
still playing well enough for them to win exactly, especially down the stretch, sets them up to tie the game. They missed the game tying field goal. I don't know. I mean, the Bills defense, I just think they'll be a lot better than they were. It still might not be enough. Like I'm not gonna say like they're gonna like shut Derrick Henry down. Like that's not gonna happen. Clearly, it's
It
not
will
gonna
not
happen.
be 35-10 or whatever.
No, it will not be 35-10. Also, the Ravens defense has gotten a lot better since that week 4 game. That's worth mentioning for sure. They were one of the worst defenses in the NFL at that time. Have since, I think, since week 11, they're allowing 15 points a game, which I think is the lowest in the NFL. Um, most of you having Kyle Hamilton move back to safety. So that scares me too. But my thing is like, I think regardless, like Lamar and Josh are going to get theirs. Like they're going to both put up great, crazy number. Like everyone's like making it out to be, even I like at work, it's quarterback versus quarterback. But like, I don't know. Like it's going to sort of come down to like, can Matt Milano, you know, be the Matt Milano he was 3 years ago, or can Zay Flowers play? I have no idea if he's going to play or not. Or like it's like, oh, can Rashad Bateman win against Rasul Douglas? And maybe like I don't know. Like I don't we like everyone's going to make it against Lamar versus Josh, and it of course is always going to be that way, and they're always going to be compared fairly or unfairly. But like I think like I truly believe that both of them are going to have a very good game, and it's going to come down to if I don't like maybe if someone turns the ball over, then that's going to be whoever turns the ball over is going to be blamed
Yeah,
for the loss. But
right. I mean, for me, it's obviously weird because I'm a Ravens fan, but definitely a big Bills supporter. Um, so I really hope that both of them just play really well, and then whoever wins. I mean, I'm obviously rooting for the Ravens. I hope the Ravens win. But like to the point where like they both play well enough where like neither one of them gets like dragged for the result.
right, right,
Um, that would be like perfect scenario. Obviously, like at the end of the day, I'm just rooting for the Ravens to win. But um, I think my whole take on the game is in a vacuum, these teams are like very neck and neck. And like there's even like a very good argument to say the Bills have been better. Josh been like more fish or like I don't know. I watch a Bills game and it feels like he's just like doing everything and being so efficient moving the ball down the field and they're just kind of like unstoppable. And like very good argument that the Bills have been a better team this year. I will say when you like match up, you look at the like exact matchup for this year, the Bills one like kind of soft spot on defense is kind of like that lighter front
Yeah.
where like that's kind of where it's a little squishier and the Ravens like one of the biggest things about like the team as a whole is that they're like so big up front to the point where it's like, Derrick Henry, their best offensive lineman is their center, their right guard, even though he's inconsistent, Daniel Falale is 6'8", 385 pounds. Where like hypothetically they should be able to take advantage in that area. And I think the threat of Derrick Henry and Lamar in the run game, as well as Lamar advancing as a passer, he can't really just stack the box and like let them like he in the past, like especially in the playoffs, like teams will have like a good game plan where they're stacking the box and he's got to throw the ball and he's been inconsistent. You've seen a lot less of the like meltdown from that this year, so I don't think you can do that as much. And then the
Yeah.
Bills offensively. I think I saw some stat that was like they've run the most amount of plays in the NFL this year with like a sixth offensive lineman, and they're
Yep.
like
Alec Kingston.
very like focused on like that ability up front and running the ball. And the Ravens, it's a little maybe inflated because their pass defense was so bad the first half of the year
Right.
that every team
They have
was
the
just
best
throwing
run
the ball
defense in
instead
the
of
NFL.
not running the ball. But they're averaging like the best in the league, like 3.6 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And like the strength of their defense is right up the middle where they have, Michael Pierce, Justin Madubuike, Broderick Washington, Travis Jones, where it's like their interior offensive line is so big and stout up front. And then obviously Roquan Smith and Malik Harrison, who's another run stuffer, where I don't feel like that might like their biggest strength like kind of goes against what the Bills kind of bread and butter has been. And then the Ravens' weakness, their biggest weakness on defense is Brandon Stevens, who's an outside corner. And that's like the one area on the Bills' offense that they don't really take advantage of the most. They win like so much in the middle of the field, Josh, in the run game. The Ravens been so good against. So in a vacuum, I think they're very neck and neck, and the Bills have a very good argument for even being better than the Ravens.
But they
But
don't match
like
up well.
strengths and weaknesses, I think tip it to the Ravens a little bit. Um, but to say that I think it's going to be like 35-10 again, I don't think so at all.
Right.
And when you have a quarterback like Josh, he can win any single game by himself. So, of course, I'm going to be biased because I'm a Ravens fan, but that's the way I see it. And maybe I'm completely full of shit and I'm just biased as a Ravens fan and I'm like making all the pieces fit in my head and it's like just to make myself feel good. But
No, I mean, I think that's fair. Like, even what I was saying earlier was like the Bills don't have like that run stuffing defensive tackle. Like, you know what I mean? And really haven't had it since like Star Latuile, 5 years ago or whatever. Like, that's always sort of been sort of a weakness for them.
Kyle Williams.
Cal Williams back in the remember he had like 10 sacks one year.
Yeah. The Jerry
Mar-
Hughes, like Mario Williams, Kyle Williams.
Marcel Darius, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Marcel Darius. He set the world on fire and then I don't think like ever
Didn't he
had
like
more than like two
drag
sacks.
race or something and get in trouble and suck?
I don't think he ever got in a drag race, but I could be wrong.
Did he get in trouble or something? I don't know.
Either way,
I don't know.
Marcel Darius, Cam Newton, Von Miller, and then Marcel Darius with the third overall pick
Yeah,
in the
and he was good for a while.
yeah, he was. I mean, he got a huge contract.
And then he can
Deserved,
kind of like see ya.
yeah, but No, I think that's fair. Like, yeah, the Bills, as I said, like you saw it in the first game against the Ravens, is that they kind of got no push up front, and it was just that they were starting. I think it would have been Balin Spector, and I mean Dorian Williams and I think Balin Spector at linebacker.
Mhm.
Um, at that point. And then Cole Bishop came in because Taylor Rapp got hurt. And then it was like the first game, like I don't want to say it means nothing because the Ravens defense obviously played really well against the Bills defense. The Bills defense also or Bills offense just like I think at a certain like after the fake like the
The trick
trick
fumble. Yeah.
play, yeah, the trick play fumble. I just think the Bills are like, all right, we're done. Like wrap it up. Like this game's over.
I
And
think the fact that they've played once before very much benefits the Bills.
I agree. I
Um,
agree.
and I the personnel coming back is massive, and I am as a Ravens fan, I'm also like worried that like because I think Sean McDermott is a good defensive coach where he's going to have a game plan in place.
Yeah.
That like yes, he like knows that's the weakness, and he's going to have something like up his sleeve.
He's
Um,
like, oh guys, by the way, we just we got Kyle Williams out of retirement.
he was
Gained a
like a
hundred
legend of the game last game, wasn't he?
legend of the game. Yeah, it's Ryan Fitzpatrick's this week.
Oh God, Ravens have no chance.
We fed Ryan Fitzpatrick
Dude, we
six.
gotta bring back sorry, we gotta bring back the dream guest list.
Yeah, we
It's
do.
he
We
might be
do.
like one.
Fitzpatrick's probably.
He would be the greatest like guest ever on like some random podcast that no one watches. Like he would lean into it. Like he would
Yeah,
be
he would. He would. And we just talk about like, hey, remember when you beat the Patriots in week 3 in 2011?
yeah,
That was
he
cool.
probably love it.
I remember when you guys shut up the then Washington Redskins in Toronto, like 22-0. Mike
Yeah.
Shanahan.
Wasn't that like a night game?
It was I think it was a 4 o'clock game because it was on Sunday, but it was in Toronto. Maybe it was a night game. I don't think it was. I remember watching it
I might be getting
like
confused. I might be for some reason I might be thinking of when the no, I'm getting mixed up for some reason with the Bills Jets color rush where they were all red and all green, and I think
oh
that was that night.
wow, yeah. I think Fitzpatrick was on the Jets at that point
Probably was
though.
with Brady Marshall and Eric Decker.
Yeah, and then the Bills, this isn't with Fitzpatrick, but another Toronto game when they beat the Falcons the year after the Falcons lost in the Super Bowl. And then LaShawn McCoy, like in the locker room, was like, everybody come over here, like we're the winner. Like I don't remember what he said, but he was like joking around, like basically saying we just beat the Super Bowl, whatever. But Bills Ravens, I think it'll be close. I'm talking myself into Bills a little bit, and I
I
think
mean,
it
there's no reason not to. Like they can win the game for sure.
yeah. Yeah. Anything, nothing would, I keep saying this, nothing would surprise me. And I mean that. Um,
I just really hope they're like at the end of the day, I'm rooting for the Ravens. I really hope like one quarterback just doesn't have a bad game and like
that
ruin.
would suck. That would
Like
suck.
regardless of
Hopefully,
what happens, like no matter who wins MVP, like that's gonna be a very bad look if one of them just throws like three picks.
I was gonna say, like, hopefully whoever wins is eventually the MVP, because otherwise it's gonna be very awkward.
Yeah, I mean that would kind of be like a I don't know. I was thinking maybe if like one MVP, it'd be like a little bit of a consolation prize, but I don't know. It almost like feels worse if you win and then lose, and it's like ah.
Let me put it this way. Like, like the Bills have not been the Bills have been to the AFC Championship once since Josh Allen came when it was in the 2020 season when they beat the Ravens. Lamar has what, 2 playoff or 3 playoff wins? If he wins an MVP, if he loses on Sunday, then he'll have 3 playoff wins and 3 MVPs. If Josh loses, then he'll basically get like the whole like, oh, you got the Joel Embiid MVP, right? Like, and so even though I think he honestly, like, I personally think he should win it, but like I see all arguments of otherwise. But I understand where people are coming from either side.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hope again. I think yeah. I kind of just hope both. I hope it's a good game. I hope we see a lot of points. I hope we see good quarterback play. I think we will see good quarterback play.
Ideal
And
world,
yeah,
this is like 42-45. Like ideal world for me is that and like Justin Tucker makes game-winning field goal and then like they both played insane. So like you can't really rag on Josh Allen, and then the Ravens move on, and then they beat the Chiefs.
I'm gonna go 35-31 Bills.
That wasn't my prediction. I was just saying that's ideal.
No, I know. I understand what you're getting at, but yeah, we'll see.
And regardless, like I will be sad if the Ravens lose, and it'll suck for like 2 days.
And then you want,
And then it's just gonna like be growing, and it's gonna be like, well, they better fucking beat the Chiefs now.
yeah, no,
And I'm gonna
seriously.
be really fucking mad if the Ravens lose and then the Bills lose to the Chiefs. I'm gonna be so mad.
We talk about this at work
I
where
mean,
like
I'd be pissed if they won and then lost to the Chiefs too. But
I keep saying this at work where everyone's like, it's the biggest game of the year. It's the biggest game of the year. And I was like, well, if they
yeah,
win,
until the next one if they
I
win.
was like, if they win, then next week's the biggest game of the year. And then if they win, then obviously the Super Bowl is the Super Bowl. And I was like,
Biggest game in franchise history.
yeah, I'm like, guys, like, I don't think you understand. Like, even if you win, you're gonna have to go to Kansas City. Like, this is not,
Yeah.
I don't know. But every playoff game is gonna be tough. Like, of those four playoff games, this one seems by far the closest. Like the Eagles Rams, I could see going either way, but I
Uh-huh.
still think the Eagles are favorites. Commanders Lions, I don't really see a world in which the Lions lose that game unless the defense is just as, I mean, they played so well against the Vikings. I don't know, but yeah, like I think we talked about it last week. And then Chiefs Texans, yeah, again,
I don't
same
see a
thing.
world where the Texans
I don't
win.
see a world where the Texans win unless for some reason the Chiefs just didn't practice in the last 3 weeks and they're just like,
He tells me they did. I'm gonna
yeah,
guess.
I'm gonna guess that they did practice. I'm gonna
I
guess
have no
Andy
insider
Reid,
information, but I'm gonna guess that they did.
3 time Super Bowl winning coach, probably had his guys and I have his guys ready. So
All right, goals next week. I have to pee so bad.
walk more. I this past this
Baltimore, I like that.
this past week, I've been all of last year, the last 6 months of last year, I should say, I was walking like every day, and then I got really cold here in Rochester the last 2 weeks, and I just like got really lazy, partially because I just didn't want to walk outside. And my steps were really down. I don't like that. I need to keep them up.
I like it. I like it. This is a kind of a continuation goal. I want to keep waking up early. I've been getting up at like 6 a.m. every day. And I like having like the morning. And I want to keep doing that. So that's my goal for the week.
There we go. Look at us go. All right, we'll
Let's
catch
go.
you.
All right, peace out.
Bye.
Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, hit the bell. You know the thing. All right, peace out, everybody.
Deals.